Hello? Hello? Okay. Good afternoon. Dear distinguished guests, all protocols observed. My name is Tona Munyaneza. I work at Transparency International Rwanda as the policy analyst and advocacy expert. I will be your MC for this afternoon's event.
In progress.
Before I begin, I'd just like to note that we have some colleagues joining us virtually, so we say hello virtually. I would like to welcome you to this afternoon's event titled The Phase-Out Meeting for GPSA Project, Empowering Farmers at the District Level Through Social Accountability Tools to Improve Performance Contracts in Mihigo in Rwanda Agricultural Projects. I would also like to take this opportunity to take you through the agenda quickly. We'll begin with introductory remarks from the Executive Director of TIA Rwanda. This will be followed by a keynote address by the country manager of World Bank, and then we'll have official remarks by the guest of honor from Ministry of Agriculture. We will then have a presentation on the GPSA project achievements and lessons learned by our program manager at Transparency International Rwanda. We will then hear testimonies and experience sharing from beneficiaries of GPSA projects. We have farmers here from Kanza and Minza. We will also have a brief documentary on GPSA project, implementing journey and key achievements. We will then have a word of thought, which will be virtually presented on the screen.
Dear CSO's partners in the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Hello to those connected virtually. As introduced by my colleague, my name is Apollo Pigani. I'm the Executive Director of Transparency International Rwanda. Very delighted to be in front of you. Allow me, first of all, to start my remarks by expressing my gratitude to all of you gathered in this room and those following this action virtually for your presence. We highly value your continued efforts to support Transparency International Rwanda in our commitment to contribute in the fight against corruption and promoting good governance through enhancing integrity values in the Rwandan society. Today, we are concluding a journey of 5 successful years of implementation of a project empowering farmers at district level through social accountability tools to improve performance contract in the Rwandan agriculture projects. Implemented in Nyanza and Kayonza districts with the main purpose of helping to address low citizen participation in policy planning, monitoring, and evaluation of local and national agricultural development plans. Empowerment of citizens and promoting accountability in all systems and institutions is one of the drivers of inclusive governance. Thus, ensuring the culture of responsiveness and accountability to users, especially the less advantaged, and including their voices in policy making, make service work better and increase citizen satisfaction. As important, urgent for promoting good governance and strengthening social accountability. Civil society and its initiatives empower citizens to access and use information to demand accountability, especially in matters that affect our daily life, such as agriculture plans and activities. Transparency International Rwanda GPSA project has demonstrated that when farmers are empowered, informed, and given opportunities to actively participate in policy and plans formulation and decision making, they can be drivers. They can be very good agents of changes in the sector of agriculture, as well as strengthening accountability mechanisms through farmers' active role in holding duty bearers, local leaders to account. At this juncture, in the light of these projects, Transparency International Rwanda would like to celebrate together the fact that the farmers have been empowered to participate in their district planning, implementation and evaluation of the project targeted districts, namely Nyanza and Kayonza. Inclusive and flexible social accountability tools were used and integrated in the district planning cycles. District farmers network were created from the village to the district level. Farmers' priorities needs were annually collected, submitted, and validated with the involvement of the district stakeholders, including the local government, and included in the district individual plan since 2017. Moreover, different platforms were created, such as the district agriculture forums, agriculture in the week, feedback meetings, in order to promote citizen farmers' participation and strengthen accountability using social accountability mechanisms. Dear guests of honor, World Bank Country Manager, distinguished guests, all protocol observed, all the above achievements could not be possible without the role and contribution of different stakeholders. Transparency International Rwanda would like to take this opportunity to thank, first of all, the government of Rwanda through various ministries and institutions for having supported this initiative during the project preparation phase, but also during the implementation through the provision of national champions for person to further facilitate the implementation of the project. Just to remind you that this was a requirement from the World Bank to have the government support, and we thank you very much, government, for trusting Transparency International Rwanda. In this regard, I want to express our particular appreciation for the role and the direct contribution of the Ministry of Agriculture and the Rwanda Governance Board for such good collaboration and partnership demonstrated through the focal persons and champions of these projects. Furthermore, I want to extend our appreciation to Rwanda Agriculture Board, MINALO, the two districts of Nyanza and Kayonza, different CSOs who are actively participating in the validation of farmers' priorities and the elevation of farmers' issues to actively advocate for farmers' issues in the two respective districts, Nyanza and Kayonza. Transparency International Rwanda can't end its appreciation without acknowledging and saluting very good support, partnership, and collaboration benefited from the World Bank Group in Rwanda through our TTL and its team. Their technical advices have played a significant role in ensuring that the project achieves its predefined outcome and impact. As a member of GPSA broader network, our much appreciation goes to the GPSA leadership, Jeff Thinder and his team, for their financial, technical, and learning support provided during this journey of 5 years. Dear guests of honor, World Bank Country Manager, distinguished guests, all protocol observed, though the project is ending, we would like to recall all different parties to continue working together, building synergies to sustain what has been achieved in terms of citizen participation and social accountability. In this regard, I would like to thank FCDO
who took the first step to support Transparency International Rwanda to scale up GPSA achievements in other 3 districts, Kamonyi, Burera, and Rubavu. Working together between citizens, CSOs, public institutions, media practitioners, and development partners will highly contribute into bridging the gaps between what citizens need and what the government is planning to address those needs. While concluding, allow me to express my special thanks to SDI Iriba and Ibaraga, the 2 district partners, for their dedication and commitment and who delivered on their assignments in their respective districts. This is not an end, rather a continuation of an existing joint engagements towards collaborative actions which build on farmers' active participation and needs to inform Imihigo planning, implementation, and evaluation process. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Edie, for those introductory remarks. I'd like to request the country manager for the World Bank to come and give a keynote address.
Miriweneza. My name is Roland Price. I am the country manager for the World Bank, and I've had that role for the past 2 years. I'd like to say welcome, of course, to the Director General of the Ministry of Agriculture, to the Executive Director of Transparency International, to Jeff and other staff of the Global Partnership for Social Accountability, district officials. We cannot do this work without you. We thank you for being here, as well as other distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to celebrate the achievements and to reflect on experiences and lessons learned from the empowering farmers at the district level through social accountability tools to improve performance contracts in Higo in the Rwandan agriculture sector. The project used a social accountability approach to improve outcomes in the agriculture sector, arguably the most important sector in Rwanda. I would first like to recognize Transparency International, who did the hard work of implementing this project, and to note that this was financed by a World Bank administered trust fund called the Global Partnership for Social Accountability. I would also like to thank and show appreciation to the government of Rwanda, both the ministries and agencies involved in the agriculture sector, as well as the district and other local governments, officials, who were instrumental in ensuring the success of this operation. And of course, we couldn't do it without the farmers and the civil society organizations that participated. Social accountability is an approach that relies on civic engagement in which citizens participate directly or indirectly in demanding accountability from service providers and from public officials. Rwanda has a strong culture of accountability, which has been a key element of its success in achieving development outcomes. The World Bank is committed to scaling up this approach and has found a growing number of applications in lending and in country program, given the strong link between social accountability and good results. The Agriculture Imihigo Week. It is notable that in this sector, approximately 80% of Rwanda's population resides in rural areas, and 66% of the labor force is in agriculture. The sector is particularly important for women because approximately 80% of the female labor force works in the agriculture sector. It is also well known that the agriculture sector is considered the main vehicle for growth in Rwanda and a key sector in achieving Rwanda's ambitious poverty reduction, food security, and human capital goals. So it is no wonder that the World Bank continues to be a key player in this sector and we will be doing so for the near and long-term future. Today, I would like to applaud and to recognize the work done over the past 5 years by Transparency International and its partners in advancing the use of social accountability tools in the agriculture sector, leveraging best practices, among others, one of Rwanda's homegrown solutions that is known the world over, the performance contracts, or commonly referred to here, the Imihigo. The objective of this project was to help address low citizen participation in policy planning, monitoring, and evaluation of local and national agriculture development plans in project-targeted districts in Kayonza and in Nyanza. The main activities centered around 3 things. 1, establishing an Imihigo feedback mechanism through which farmers channeled their priorities using social accountability tools. 2, strengthening cooperation between civil society organizations and government officials at the district level. 3, integrating the lessons learned from pilot districts into the agriculture sector policy design at the district and national levels. Factors that facilitate citizen participation, and specifically in this case, farmers' participation, are multifaceted. However, access to information, access to spaces of policy making, and multi-stakeholder coordination are crucial in ensuring that meaningful citizen participation. And this project has provided strong evidence of that. We have documented a significant increase in farmer participation in both districts since the project started in 2017. Over 1,300 farmers and over 445,000 indirect beneficiaries whose livelihood depend on agriculture in those 2 districts have been engaged in this very successful initiative. And those are big numbers. The project has also proved that citizen participation and engagement is an anchor for policy planning and implementation, and that citizenship, ownership of development solutions is important in order to really meet the needs of those citizens. This was evidenced by the increasing levels of satisfaction among farmers regarding their participation in the planning and implementation process in the 2 districts. And this is despite the fact that this project occurred during the period of COVID-19. And in many of our other projects, that really had a significant downturn in participation and engagement. We found that in this project, the participation and engagement continued. Despite the successes here, though, we acknowledge that challenges remain, including those documented by this project. And these will be shared later today. This is why, as the bank, we stay committed to contributing to sustainable agriculture transformation. We continue to hold ourselves accountable to principles of inclusion, gender equality, and stakeholder engagement in all the interventions we support. And we challenge our partners to do the same. I look forward to this afternoon's proceedings, where we will learn about the project interventions, the successes and key takeaways, and how we may continue to advance social accountability in different interventions in this sector and beyond. Allow me to conclude by expressing my sincere appreciation to the efforts of all of the stakeholders present that have contributed in one way or another to the success of this project. I am hopeful that through our joint efforts, we will continue to ensure that we sustainably contribute to Rwanda's development goals, and specifically to the transformation and strengthening of the agriculture sector, so that we leave no one behind. I thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you very much, Country Manager, for those for the keynote address. I would like to request the guest of honor from the Ministry of Agriculture to come give the official remarks.
World Bank Country Manager, Executive Director of Transparency International, Rwanda, distinguished partners, guests and participants in this room. By the way, even those following virtually, all protocols observed. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First and foremost, get the salutations from Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Dr. Jadion Kishimana, who had planned to officiate this event, but due to other urgent activities, did not manage to come. She has delegated me to open this gathering on her behalf. Please bear with her. On my side, I am Dr. Oktari Semraga, the Director General for Agriculture Modernization in the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to get your warm welcome to this phase-out meeting of the very important and successful project implemented by Transparency International Rwanda with the support of the World Bank through the Global Partnership for Social Accountability. To implement the PSTF4, the Strategic Plan for Agricultural Transformation, especially the enabling environment and responsive institutions priority area, the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources values the roles to be played by its stakeholders, including civil society organizations. In that regard, the Ministry of Agriculture organizes several meetings several times a year: joint sector review, agriculture sector working groups, agriculture public-private dialogues, value chain platforms, cluster working groups, and the others, to make sure no partner is left behind in the implementation of the fourth edition of the Strategic Plan for Agricultural Transformation. In that same vein, the Ministry of Agriculture and Human Resources has been a key stakeholder in the implementation of this project and appreciates the achievements realized through the outstanding partnership with TI Rwanda. Empowering farmers at the district level through social accountability tools to improve performance contracts in Mihigo, in the Rwanda Agriculture Project, reaffirms once again the contribution of civil society organizations in achieving the country's agriculture-related aspirations. As stipulated in the National Strategy for Transformation, NST1, under the transformational governance pillar, the government plans to strengthen the capacity, service delivery, and accountability of public institutions. The project to phase out today was in that line, and it was aimed at increasing citizens' participation and engagement in development. In fact, the core objective of the project was TI Rwanda to contribute to engaging farmers with decision makers. that has led to an increase in the level of farmers' participation in agricultural development plans at local level. Farmers were mobilized and given the required tools and techniques to identify their problems, prioritize them, and market them at the local government level so that their wins are considered in the district in Igbo. Thus, at this juncture, I heartily thank the role played by farmers in the project implementation, and I do not doubt that the project achievements will be sustained. Indeed, the modernization of agriculture will not be achieved without the full participation of farmers. On the side of the Ministry of Agriculture, Minagri is committed to increasing the level of farmers' participation in the planning and budgeting processes through various coordination mechanisms mentioned above, where farmers are well represented. The successful implementation of Tier-1 project underpins the need for more projects like this with the same methodology throughout the country, because this project was implemented in Kayonza and Nyanza districts only. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank Tier-1 for having successfully implemented this project. I expressed my deep gratitude to the organizers of this event and to all of you who have responded positively to the invitation, and declare this hybrid meeting officially open. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to call upon the program manager of Tier-1 to give a presentation on GPSA project achievements and lessons learned. Sorry, Diodone, can you project? Thank you.
Distinguished guests, all protocol observed. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. My name is Rwego Albert Vatiri, Program Manager at Transparency International Rwanda. I'm glad to share with you a short presentation on the achievement of the GPSA project implemented by Transparency International through the partnership of the World Bank, GPSA, as my predecessor mentioned. Briefly, I share with you the project description, objectives, as an achievement, and key changes, lesson learned, challenges, and way forward. As project description, I have to say that, as it was said in the introductory remarks, this project was a 5-year project which started in 2017, leading by Transparency International, as was saying, our representatives before me was saying, the geographic coverage of the project, as you can see in this slide, in Kayonza and in Nyanza, the population was beyond 300,000 of people. Those are indirect beneficiaries of the project. The project was also implemented by 2 civil society partners in Baraga and Iriba. Next. Next. Next, please. About the initial or direct beneficiaries, the project started with a total of 1,310 beneficiaries. That is 500 in Kayonza and 800 in Nyanza. At the end of the project, we came up with an increase of direct beneficiaries from 1,000 to 7,000, where the male represented 51% of them, and 49% of female. So, but at the end of the project, as the district was owning the project, the direct beneficiaries increased again. We show you the numbers in this presentation. Next. With regard to the component of this project has had 4 components. The first component is the increasing farmers' ownership of agriculture projects. Was because the issue was the low ownership of farmers that the project could address. The second component was deepening and scaling up the cooperation between civil society and government officials for ensuring efficiency of agriculture projects. The third one is sharing knowledge and relations and lands. And the last one is regard to the project implementation unit. The objective, of course, of the project were designed in line with the component, the 4 components, except for the implementing unit. It's like repeating the components, increasing farmers' participation, strengthen cooperation between civil society and government officials, and share the knowledge and the lesson learned. Those are the specific objective of the project. Then, I want to show you the key achievements of the project in the 5 years of implementation of the project. Regarding the farmers' participation planning of the district performance in Igo, in Kayonza and district, you can see this chain, this farmers' priority chain, and tier under intervention. So on your right, you can see the intervention of tier Rwanda, and on the left, you can see the chain of the project compact. So at the grassroots level, the GPSA project team managed to build farmers' capacity to identify their priorities to be included in the goal, and then share those priority with the farmers' cooperative. After that, the farmers' cooperative will channel the priorities from the farmers to the district agriculture Imigo, of course, after the sector level. Then, the following step was to, again, facilitate and coordinate the meetings for civil society, local government, to validate the farmers' priorities at the district level. That was it was also work done by TIA Rwanda and the partners, local civil society, and share those validated priorities with district officials, and the district officials will incorporate incorporating the validated priorities into the district development plans. So the first step was to, of course, the district also shared their district development plan with the national agriculture strategy at the national level, where also our team, the GPSA team, played a role to advocate for farmers at the national level, that is Minagri, RAB, Miniko, Minekofi, to integrate the priority of farmers into the national agriculture strategy. This is the whole chain, of the work done by TIA Rwanda and partners. During the implementation of this project, the project came up with an initiative called Agriculture in Rural Week. This was not there before. It came with this project, this GPSA project. So it is the same cycle. It's the same cycle. You can see you have this. Now, what is new is that for now this project involved the SEDO who work at the cell level and cell and agronomists at the sector level who help in gathering farmers to collect their priorities that can be included in IMICO. So this is the chain is going up and up to the national level, but you will see that this row means that the feedback will be again shared back to the farmers, be it the retail priorities or the priorities that were not retained and why they were not retained. So this is what we call agricultural Imigo Week that was brought about by this GPSA project. These are the evidence of some picture that we took during the implementation of GPSA project, where farmers were identifying their priorities and were validating together with local authorities those priorities. On your left, you see the farmers' priority identification in some sectors, Kawari and in Kayonza, that just to show an evidence, and that picture shows you the meeting where farmers' priority were validated at the district level in Kayonza. The same, the farmers in Kibirizi sector in Nyanza, and for the identification of priorities, and in Nyanza during the validation of the district image. As we started saying that this project was to address the low participation of farmers in district Imigo, then here we want to show you how the participation of farmers went increasing during the cycle of this GPSA project. In the beginning of the project, in 2018, the participation of farmers was around 60%. Then it's like nothing changed the following year, but After 2 years, you can see that it increases by like 14% of participation in the planning of Imigo in both Kayonza and Nyanza district. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19 pandemic crisis, the participation of farmers in Imigo planning dropped because, as you know, it was not easy to move and gather meetings due to COVID restrictions. We trying to compare the two districts in the planning of Imigo. You can see that Kayonza took the lead. Kayonza took the lead in the level of participation in the planning of Imigo. In the whole implementation of the project implementation, but something which we can be happy with is that for the both district, we can recognize the increase of participation. We can register an increase in Kayonza and in Nyanza both, though in Kayonza the level of participation is lower. Next. Again, in the farmer satisfaction survey, we try to measure the level of farmer satisfaction in the implementation of the planned project in Mingo. Again, you can see that there is an increase from 2018 to 2019, but because of COVID, you can also see a drop in the fiscal year 2021-2022 due to COVID. Next. Apart from the level of satisfaction in the implementation of planning the project, we also looked at the civil society inclusion and participation in Migo as a second objective of this project. You can see that the level of inclusion and participation of civil society also increased from 61 to 69. Though it is not a very big increase in social science, an increase of about 7% in 3 years, because the 2 years, the last 2 years were affected negatively by COVID. We can see that we can celebrate this increase, because this is the mindset change. To change a mindset cannot be found in 2 years only. So I think with 2-3 years, an increase of like 7%, I think it is significant in terms of changing mindset of people. Again, here I want to share with you the increase of the number of priorities that were formulated by the farmers and submitted to the district for consideration. So you can see from 2018 to 2019, the farmers priority that 27 priorities agriculture project formulated by farmers. Among the 27, 11 were considered. there was a bit decrease in the following year, but the other following year we also registered a small increase, but in the 2021-2022, you can see that we had a very tremendous increase of farmers' priorities that were included in Imigo in both districts. In the 2022, 36 priorities of farmers were submitted to districts, but as of now, we have no feedback on the priorities that are considered in the district Imigo because they are still in the process. So let's hope that we have the same success as it was in the previous year. Next. Next, please. On the other aspect regarding strengthening the cooperation between civil society and government officials for enhanced effectiveness of agriculture project, we can now recognize some achievement, like, for example, signed official MOU with the Nyanza district and RAB, Rwanda Agriculture Board, a memorandum of understanding to facilitate the implementation of this project. We trained the SEDO, a big number of SEDO in both the Kayonza and Nyanza district on citizen participation. We trained local leaders on what we call days of participation. I will explain you what is day of participation later. We also conduct community debate with the partnership with the media, and this debate were organized and key issues were documented and aired on different media platforms to voice farmers' issues for advocacy. Then we introduced other platforms to enable farmers to elevate their concern at District Agriculture Forum. We created what we call District Agriculture Forum. It's a platform where district officials, civil society, and the private sector were gathered to discuss issues of agriculture, of farmers' priority. There was also district joint validation session of Imigo, Agriculture Imigo Week, district feedback meeting. These gatherings were created to increase the collaboration between civil society and the government, and so on. Next. As evidence, you can see some picture where the chairperson of Transparency International Rwanda is signing the memorandum of understanding with the Director General of RAB, was held. The District Agriculture Forum is comprised of district officials and other partners, as I was mentioning it. Next. Again, those are the examples of civil society cooperation and the government officials. This is Nyanza District dialogue held on 25th November. These are the SEDO trend on new methodology that I showed the agriculture Imigo week. These are the picture. Next. Next, please. Here I want to share with you the knowledge shared and the lesson learned in this project. In this project, we produce a lot of application. We have, for example, baseline study and 4 farmer satisfaction survey. We conducted political economy analysis. We had we produced 7 newsletters. We produced video documentaries with the partnership with Aga Khan University, Social Accountability Media Initiative, SAMI in short. Here Rwanda built a capacity of journalists in terms of social accountability, and they learn how to document farmers' issues and produce advocacy materials through media. There are a number of success stories and testimonies of farmers' participation in Migo that were produced and aired in media outlets. You will see the link of those media outlets in the next slide. We produced farmers' priority reports that were shared with district, RAB, Minagri, and other stakeholders to inform the planning process and policy formulation. Radio talk show, radio and TV talk were also used to mobilize farmers on participation in Migo, etc. So I was saying that I will show you the link of those media outlets that in which we published our reports and other applications, articles, and so on. Again, with regard to sharing knowledge and lesson learned, we trained civil society and the local officials on the days of participation tool, which is a social accountability tool that developed the capacity for participants to better promote citizen participation through an interactive and a creative approach. Can go on. We can not end our presentation without showing you the key changes. The key changes in this project is that the consultation of citizens was enhanced in the planning of Migo by the local government. The Migo week was institutionalized. We observed an increment in farmers' influencing capacity, increased willingness of local authorities to continue supporting farmers' networks, better initiative, including exhibition rooms, production of visibility materials for dissemination of Migo, etc. Districts are now taking the lead to organize farmers, correct their priorities. I gave you the example of SEDO and agronomist. Again, through our advocacy during this project, the farmers are benefited with like you can say, construction of milk correction centers, construction of feeder roads, for example, construction of terraces, provision of post-harvest facilities as stores, drying facilities in both Nyanza and Kayonza, etc. We also advocated for the farmers in Nyanza who were paying a lot of money for the tax of their land in the marshland, which dropped from 5 million to 792,000. That was a great achievement. Another key change was the creation of avenue to channel farmer needs district. In the yellow, you can see the existing channels. The cell and village farmers cooperative were there before, but you can see the other avenues in the green color that were created by this project. You can see them, not necessary to read them as short of time. Can go next. As a lesson learned, we can say that farmers are willing to participate in the planning. What we need is to engage them, to empower them, and engage them to participate. They have willing. The district farmers network should be represented in JEJAF. The gathering of both farmers and local government officials strengthen their relationship and trust. So there was an increase or reinforced the trust between farmers and the government officials. Media collaboration to promote farmers' citizen participation is very key. Local and national institutions should do work through a citizen-centered approach. So those are the recent learned in this project. We cannot go without saying that we encountered some challenges in the implementation of this project. Citizen satisfaction dropped because of COVID in the last 2 years, as I was showing in this presentation. The social accountability tools were not well known by local leaders. Other factors related to other factors were not satisfactory, such as farmers' bargaining power during price setting. This was left not addressed in this project. Perhaps we continue to work closely with Minagri, RAB, and the district to see how this issue can be addressed. High cost of agriculture input, high production cost in agriculture sector, difficult access to bank loan in the agriculture sector, issues related to crop insurance. Those are the challenges that the project has left behind, and perhaps to be addressed in what I'm going to share with you in this last slide on way forward and sustainability. Tier 1 will continue working closely with both Kayonza and Nyame district to sustain what has been achieved. Tier 1 continue collaboration and partnership with the local NGOs, Baraga and Iriba, as they are the one leading farmers network in the country and local level. We'll try to scaling up the approach in other districts, as well as continue engaging central government institutions in charge of agricultural government. Tier 1 will continue to establish digital mechanisms, continue providing farmers, citizens with platforms to share their views on planning a program in agriculture, but also in other sectors. And this also will try to address the issue of the period for crisis like COVID. I think this is the last slide, and I thank you very much for attention.
Thank you very much, PM. For the next item on the agenda is to hear testimonies and experiences from beneficiaries of the GPSA project. I'd like to call on to my colleague, Alain. 1 minute, please. Thank you. She will be speaking and my colleague Diodone will be translating.
Murakoze, bongeye kwirirwa. Amazina yanjye nitwa Mukandayisenga Gaudence, nturuka mu karere ka Kayonza, umurenge wa Ruramira. Ndi umuhinzi mworozi.
She's called Gaudence Mukandayisenga. She's from Kayonza district and she's greeting you all.
Murakoze, ahangaha mpahagaze ndi umuhamya, ndavuga cyane imbaraga na transparency. Murabibona ndakuze ariko ndacyari muto, ariko nk'umuntu umwuga w'ubuhinzi cyane kuko ndanawukora, ntarabikora neza, ntarahura n'imbaraga na transparency, nari umucanshuro, nta soni bijya bintera zo kubivuga naca nk'inshuro.
She's saying she's here to testify what has been achieved through this project, which has really been very impactful to her life. And she worked as a casual worker, but then after the implementation of this project, she's doing agriculture on daily basis, but doing it very professionally.
Kuba tabyumva neza wenda guca inshuro, naho ufata umuryango wawe mukajya guhingira amafaranga 700 ari gutunga undi muryango mufite mu rugo, naho ngaho narindi ntarahura n'imbaraga na transparency.
For those who do not understand what a casual worker means for her, is that she used to work on daily basis.
Ikindi kintu cyabaye cyiza kuri twebwe abahinzi n'aborozi, naho akarere kicaraga kagategura imihigo, igategurirwa iyongere hejuru, ikazanwa muri twebwe abaturage ngo tuyikore tutayigizemo uruhare.
Before the introduction of this project, farmers were not aware of how the Mihigo performance contracts are planned, and they only knew when it came to implementation process.
Uyu munsi rero aho twahuriye n'imbaraga na transparency, siko twebwe abaturage nitwe twicara tugategura imihigo, hanyuma tukayohereza mu karere, tuyitegurira mu mudugudu, mu nteko, mu matsinda, amakoperative, tukabyohereza ku kagari, ku murenge, ku karere. Iyo bigeze ku karere barebamo muri ya mihigo nimba ari 7 twatoranije nk'abaturage, barebamo nk'ine yihutirwa kurusha indi, bikagaruka iwacu bakatubwira bati muri ya mihigo mwateguye iyihutirwa kurusha iyindi niyi, bikongera bikagaruka muri twe, akaba twe tubigiramo uruhare bikihuta.
Things have now changed because farmers have realized dramatic changes because they participate through their farmers groups at local level, through even cell and village assemblies, and their priorities are identified and then submitted at sector level and district level. Then after selection of what priorities will be implemented, the district come back in their cells and farmers groups and cooperatives and give them feedback on what will be implemented, hinging on their priorities submitted.
Tugira akandi kantu dukoresha mu imbaraga na transparency kavango ndagiye ndagarutse, bituma rero muri twebwe bya bindi twatoranyije twiyemeje uko tugiye tukagaruka bihora ari bishya muri twe, bikadutera n'imbaraga zo kubikora.
In Kayonza they have another innovative tool which is called ndagiye ndagarutse, translated in English, I'm going back or be back, where farmers, after providing their farmers' priorities, then the district come back, as she had said, comes back, then provide feedback on the priorities that have been submitted.
Iwacu rero muri Kayonza imihigo ntabwo ikiri y'abayobozi ahubwo ni y'abatwebwe nk'abaturage.
Now in Kayonza, imihigo are not meant for district officials, but farmers own and really understand what imihigo mean for them.
Ku bijyanye n'ubuhinzi rero nkuko natangiye mbabwira ko tutarahura na transparency twabikoraga nabi. Uyu munsi ahantu najyaga mpinga ni nka hectare 1.5, twezagamo umufuko umwe, ubwo ni ibiro 100 cyangwa 90.
Today, due to the changes made in agriculture sector, especially in Kayonza,
they had a plot of land, like 1.5 hectare. They used to get the production of only 100 kilograms or 150, but now they are really getting the increase of the production from that plot of land.
cyatumaga umusaruro uba muke icyambere n'ubumenyi buke n'ifumbire n'imbuto tutaboneraga ku gihe.
So before they used to make different challenges, including lack of awareness and lack of agricultural inputs.
Uyu munsi rero tureza ubu ndi umuhinzi, mpamya yuko ndi umuhinzi, namwe murabibona ko ndi umuhinzi. Aho hantu ubu mfite toni 5 mbitse mu rugo. Nahisemo rero gukora umwuga wo gucuruza imyaka kuko nasanze ko buri wese atunzwe no kurya no kunywa. Uwo mwuga njye nasanze ari mwiza kuri njye kuko ubu nabigize iby'umwuga, ni business. Turahinga tukeza ibigori, turapakiza imodoka, amasaka, inyanya mu mujyi hano mu siko bimeze birakaze, mbese navuga ngo nanjye ndi umuyobozi ku bijyanye n'ubuhinzi.
Now she's testifying that she's doing agriculture in a modern way, and she has about 5 tons of production of including beans and maize, and that she's now trying to trade all around the country, including Kigali City.
Twebwe turihaza nk'umuryango tugasagurira n'amasoko kugira ngo na hano mu mujyi mudakora mu bari kibatunga.
They are no longer cultivating for daily survival, but they make sure that they have something remaining at the market.
Byatumye dukora amakoperative y'abahinzi borozi, utundi turere turaza tukadusura tukatwigiraho. Ibyo byose tubikesha imbaraga na transparency. Mwarakoze cyane rero tubayeho kubera mwebwe, Imana ibahe umugisha.
She's saying they really thank Transparency International Rwanda and Imbaraga in Kayonza through this project because they have realized a lot of changes in their district.
Good
afternoon.
Nitwa GPSA Nikodemu, naturutse mu karere ka Nyanza, murenge wa Busasamana.
He's called Nicodemus and he's coming from Busasamana sector in Nyanza district.
Hano rero mpagaze hano kugira ngo mbabwire akamaro transparency na CDIB cyatugejejeho muri myaka 5 tumaranye.
He's standing there to testify the role of the project implemented by Transparency International Rwanda and the implementing partner in Nyanza called SDA Iriba.
Mizo ya mbere dutangirana na Transparency na Iriba twari dufite imyumvire iri hasi kubyerekeye gutegura imihigo y'akarere. Ntabwo twari tuzi gutegurwa nuko igenda, ariko dutangiranye nabo hajemo ibikorwa byabo batuzaniye tugenda imbere kandi tubona gutegura neza, tubasha gutegura neza turabimenya.
Before the kick-off of this project, they never knew how Mihigo performing contracts are planned at their district level. But after the introduction of this project, they will testify that they understand how Mihigo are planned and implemented.
Twatangirije mu matsinda y'imbaraga, kuko dufite umuryango imbaraga, amatsinda yabo rero twatangiye mu mpuzammatsinda n'amatsinda, tukazamura imihigo mu matsinda akajya mu mpuzammatsinda. Impuzammatsinda nazo zikageza mu rwego rw'akarere, mu rwego rw'umurenge bukaza mu rwego rw'akarere. hanyuma ubwo ibivuyemo bikaba ari ibikorwa byo kuzamura imihigo dufite ko ntabyo twari tuzi ubundi bwa mbere kuko icyo gihe twari bizamuriye hamwe bikagenda.
Now Imihigo are planned through their cooperatives and farmers groups, and then the priorities identified are submitted to their upper level of the cooperatives and at sector level, which submit them to the district level for validation.
Natanga urugero n'ibyo twakoze dutangira twashyize ibitekerezo 33 tugeza mu rwego rw'akarere tutangira, ariko ibyitaweho byaje kuzamuka bijya mu rwego rw'imihigo mu karere byabaye 23, ibindi bisigaye turacyabikurikirana ntibiragirwa, ariko ibyazamutse mbere byagezweho kandi bikorwa neza, tubona akarere karabyitayeho, imihigo ireswa igenda neza.
Among the priorities submitted to the district include in the beginning 30 priorities, then which among them 23 were priorities identified by farmers.
Ubu rero imihigo mu karere kacu itangira hasi mu bahinzi ikazamuka ikagera ku rwego rw'akarere, ariko yatangiye hasi ariko twazamuye imihigo twerekanye ibigomba guhingwa n'ibigomba gukorwa. Ubu turahinga tukeza, ubu ngubu umuturage afite uburyo bwo guhinga keza, nta gihinga ngo asuzigare. Impamvu kandi yabiteye ni uko inyongeramusaruro zabonekaga zitinze ntizibonekeye igihe. Ubu rero aho ubugizi bwaziye zirabonekera igihe, tukazibonera ku gihe, tukazihinga n'amafumbire n'ibintu byose biza bijyanye n'ubuhinzi.
Among the challenges now which have been sorted out include the delay of agricultural inputs, including selected seeds and fertilizers. They testify that now they can really get them on time, which lead to an increase of production.
N'abayobozi b'ubuhinzi kandi barahagurutse nabo bakaza kudufasha tukabikurikirana, tugategura igihe cy'igihinga, tukayitegurira igihe kandi tukahingira igihe kugira ngo tuzasarurire hamwe nta gusigaye inyuma.
The fact that the district officials are coming on time in their sectors, now they are able to start seasons on time, which lead to the increase of their production.
Turashimira cyane umushinga wa transparency waje kuba tubashije muri byinshi ushyirwa mu bikorwa na CDEIBA. Twebwe abawushyira mu bikorwa twari umuryango imbaraga, twazamuye ubuhinzi kandi ubu biragenda neza. Ubuhinzi bumeze neza mu karere kacu, umuhinzi arishyira akizana kandi agahinga keza agasagurira n'isoko.
As beneficiaries of the project, they will thank Transparency International Rwanda and all the partners who partnered in implementing this project, and they do testify that a lot of changes have been made.
Ubutaka buto dufite hari umusaruro uhagije kandi ushimishije kubera ubumenyi twapomye muri abo bafatanyabikorwa badufashije.
They are making sure that they get good production from small plots that they have.
Ngira ngo ibyo tutarageraho nabyo tuzageraho kuko twabizamuye biri mu karere, ubu ngubu twagejeje mu karere imihigo y'ibyo tutarageraho bikeya nabyo turateganya ko bizagerwaho muri iyi minsi.
They hope that even the challenges faced will be sorted out because they have raised them to the district officials, and they hope they will get feedback from what they proposed.
Ku byerekeye ubuhinzi rero murakoze, twebwe turabona aba baterankunga bakomeza kudutera inkunga bakadufasha bakatwerekera kuko byatugirira akamaro cyane, bakomeje kutugenda hafi byadufasha byaturangira cyane. Murakoze.
They wish that the project should not end like that way, because they wish the project could be there to sustain the achieved results. Thank you.
uyu mushinga transparency umaze kuza mu gihe tumaze dukorana nawo hari impinduka twagiye tubona cyane cyane mu buryo bw'imikorere. Ubundi mbere umuhinzi cyangwa umworozi kugira ngo amenye imihigo y'akarere byabaga bigoye, cyane cyane nk'iyo twajyaga mu nteko nta muntu wabaga wabaza imihigo y'akarere ngo abe yayivuga. Ariko kugeza uyu munsi imihigo y'akarere irimo irahera ku muturage hasi, umuturage akavuga icyo yifuza bikazamuka bikagenda bigera mu karere kugeza ubwo icyo yifuza kijya mu muhigo w'akarere kandi akarere kakagikurikirana kandi kigashyirwa mu
ibyifuzo by'abahinzi bacu bikajya mu mihigo y'akarere kacu kaba kahise.
Burya ibintu byose ni ubushakashatsi. Ubushakashatsi burahenda, busaba ingendo, busaba amafaranga, busaba kwegera abantu cyane mu buryo buhoraho. Icyo batumariye gikomeye kumenya ibibazo biri mu buhinzi n'ubworozi mu buryo bwimbitse bugera ku muturage ku wundi, kuko byaratugoraga kuba uri agoronome w'umurenge ukamenya ibibazo by'abahinzi 10,000 ufite, ntago byari bitworoheye. Kagarariye
iturutse muri Rwanda Revenue izitubwira ko tugomba kwishyura $1,683,083, hariho $1,683,083, hariho n'amande.
Ni ihumure twaha abahinzi ko njyanama y'akarere nyuma y'uko muyigaragarije ko umusoro uheze ikaba yabivanira
guhita dukora akanama twemeza ko tuzajya tubihinga. Ubwo rero twebwe icyifuzo cyacu ni uko
bagaragaje umusaruro w'ibirayi, icyaba gisigaye no kureba ngo ese imbuto bayikura he, ni buhe buryo bw'ubuvugiranure. Icyo ni ikintu n'ubundi twiteguye gukora igihe cyose twabona ko hari umusaruro uhari w'ibirayi.
Twaterwa inkunga amazi akajya yiyongera akaboneka, n'abo bakozi bakaba baba benshi, ntihagire umuhinzi ubura amazi. Muri damu kunze naho hari igihe habamo makeya,
uko tubuza amazi n'umusaruro. Ubwo barabizi umuceri ni igihingwa gishaka amazi menshi cyane, ariyo mpamvu hariho hubakwa indi damu y'amazi kugira ngo ikibazo kigende, ikibazo turebe ko cyakemuka mu bihe bya vuba. Ahangaha iyo damu izabirangiye.
Burya munsi y'umujyi wa Kageyo hari ahantu mujya mubona n'ubundi hareka amazi. Turashaka kuhakora damu izunganirana n'iriya ya Murama.
I'm program manager
this one is important to continue exactly training and showing how exactly even identification, farmers are helped to identify their issues and also the way they will be taken into account, and even continue the process of showing how exactly the kind of projects from the beneficiaries are implemented. You know, there are a lot of activities involved in that part. Then we ourselves, we involve local government. We make sure that exactly the issues raised by farmers are taken into account, as I told you, on the vision level, policy level, strategic level, and at the time of the implementation, we strengthen the local governments and making sure that at the joint action development forums, those voices of farmers are heard, and then also the local governments are strengthened to make sure that they know they have the required techniques and the tools to identify and also to implement identified projects. If that person right, she can know, he can also. Something is not.
Thank you very much. Before we go online, I'd like to ask the audience if there are any questions.
Hi, thank you very much, Martin Koper, Netherlands Embassy. The other day I tried to the best of my ability to explain the Imigo concept to my Ethiopian friends, and they were impressed, because in Ethiopia, I have some experience in Ethiopia, they try to come up with all kind of accountability systems which were designed behind a desk in London or Washington, and the farmers had no clue what they were talking about. Imigo is clearly, the farmers know what you're talking about. They have a clear reference. They know what it means. So it is within, in this concept, I would like, within this context, I would like to make some, I can't avoid it, some critical remarks. First of all, historically, Rwanda has a top-down culture. People are very versatile in answering in such a way that they know the type of answer which is required. So my question is, how confident are you that your figures are a true reflection of the reality? Perhaps it's something completely different, but I have been following a bit the scorecards of the government, and in particular, for instance, the rule of law. There is a satisfaction rate above 90%. A colleague said, well, these are Soviet type of figures. They can't, or that there is a problem, there is an issue there. And as this is all about accountability, you really have to know what people think and not what that they know what they're supposed to say. So I would like to have some comments on that one. The second one, and it relates a bit to the previous question, what is, by means of example, what happens if there is a discrepancy between priority policies of the government and the wishes of the farmers? We had this discussion before. Let's take monocropping. I mean, some people say these are imposed on farmers, others say, well, strongly encouraged. But in a number of situations, especially when you look at the challenges, inputs are getting more and more expensive. The seeds, the seeds, the fertilizer, people can't feed their families anymore when they have to do monocropping. So they have to do something else. How will this accountability mechanism, how will that play out? Who will prevail? The important strategic objective of the government, or the wishes of certain groups of farmers, which is crucial because it's about whether they or not can feed their family. And thirdly, I was really, I really enjoyed to see, I was really impressed. I see that also Transparency International carried out a number of political economy analysis. I would love to see them, by the way. And it's in order to, I mean, we're talking not about just accountability, we're talking about the quality of accountability. And the quality of accountability is partly influenced by other factors which play a role in this context. Important political players, political elites with economic interests, they decide to a certain extent how much this accountability is worth. And we have some experience how that through the years, how that plays out in for instance, the potato sector. So I would love to hear a bit, if you are able to see how this work you've done in terms of political economic analysis, as perhaps you can give an example, how that has influenced the quality of the accountability. Thank you. Martin Koper, Netherlands Embassy. Whoever wishes to
Okay. I also wanted to ask if we can have a round of questions and then.
Thank you. My name is Jean-Claude Rinadoume I'm the Executive Secretary of CSOIB. CSOIB is a member organization for local NGO and development that are much involved in the increasing citizen participation in Mihigo, but also advocacy in the agriculture sector. We thank you, Transparency, for presenting this very important achievement over the 5 years. To me, this recommend a kind of scaling up, because it was only done in 2 districts. I would like to ask the World Bank if this is just a pilot phase, or if based on the positive result received, the World Bank is ready to support the scaling up of this kind of project. Although in the way forward presented by Transparency International Rwanda, they somehow committed to keep supporting these 2 districts, but I know now that the project is phasing out, to sustain what has been introduced, it might require additional resources. I don't know if our districts are ready to keep using these tools that have been developed and tried. We have seen that through the 9 avenues that Transparency International Rwanda introduced, only 2 were existing. How are districts ready to follow this methodology if the resources of the project are no longer there? And another is not another question, but we all know that in Mihigo process, it looks like a one-way traffic. We know it's from the village or up to the cell, to the sector, and there is very little effort to go and just feedback what has been approved after the district in Mihigo are validated. And through this methodology, unless I didn't follow well, I didn't see any phase of going back and giving feedback. Look, among the 5 maybe priority you gave, only 2 were maintained, and why? And this John, somehow the question that was read by the representative of the Netherlands Embassy, if the priority is not considered, are farmers told why this was not considered, although they see that this is a priority? Thank you.
One more question.
Yeah, thank you, Transparency International, for having picked interest in this new initiative. It's the first time to hear participating in this. My question is similar to my colleague who has just spoken. I just want to hear from Transparency International. He highlighted the challenge, the post-sustainability bit of the project. And what came to my mind is what will be the role of Transparency International in ensuring that these achievements are sustainable for this foreseeable future. Because sometimes we usually have sustainability challenges, but as Transparency International, what mechanism are you coming up with? So this achievement we have seen today are sustainable. And maybe we're supposed, maybe at one time you share with us, a lot of people who came to this project, what we expected is still on ground, and in fact it is going to greater heights. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the colleagues connected to the online and the interesting questions that we received from the audience. The colleague from Netherlands Embassy asked very interesting questions, some of them not easy to respond because
I'm glad that you didn't ask me those questions because I didn't know how to answer.
He's a very knowledgeable person in the Rwandan context and some of the challenges that could be hampering the effective accountability policy that our government of Rwanda committed to initiate and to institutionalize. It's part of the Rwandan policy, despite what should be as a barrier connected to our previous, our ancestral culture of top-down. You know, in the Rwandan society, we respect the elders, we respect the authority, but again, the government of Rwanda now is promoting the culture of asking questions from family level, but more importantly in the governance systems. So there is no excuse that citizens keep quiet or not asking, not demanding account to their leaders. Of course, it takes time. It takes time based on this historical, cultural behavior of our society. But in practice, as it was witnessed and demonstrated by these projects, when citizens are informed, are empowered and engaged, and when there are user-friendly mechanisms for dialogue between policymakers and of course citizens, there is positive changes as we have seen. I'm here as here, but I think what is important is the voice of the citizens and our district implementers who are with us now, Ibaraka and SDA Riba, who can really show that with the creative mechanisms, citizens were able to challenge the policymakers, and you saw in the documentary. Of course, it's a long process. It requires informing, providing such spaces for dialogue, and it's what Tier Rwanda managed to do in these 5 years. The experience of Kayonza and Nyanza showed that it's possible. And I think I respond to the question of Jean-Claude who asked it. He did not see any, he saw the channeling of the needs, no feedback. But one of the beneficiary citizens from Kayonza mentioned one interesting best practices that he and said. I go and back. It's their way of formulating the feedback mechanism. and they put it in their local languages, and go and back. Meaning that I submitted the priority, I come back and say this is what will have been accepted, this not have been accepted. So it's this feedback mechanism that you wanted to hear. So, colleague from Netherlands, I think governance it's a process. It's not something that you can say in 1 or 2 days you finish. And we thank really the World Bank who accepted even to support the project for 5 years because we are showing that it is not impossible to achieve the results. But after the 5 years, we saw really concrete results. So this is connected to the research we conducted in the political economy analysis. And this research wanted to really to analyze the distribution of the power. And of course, how the citizens are informed about their power or what they have as authority. Of course, the power is not only because I'm in a position in exposition of leading others. I have the citizens need to understand it, to know that they have power on me, on the local leaders. And this is what Tier 1 and our partners on the ground try to really to reduce the space which was existing between the policymakers or implementers at the district level and the citizens. And I think the good message could be, or the testimony could be shared by the beneficiaries. So it's a process, but I think it's something which worked and which is possible. And this is why even the World Bank accepted to do a pilot phase. When we were discussing, they said, is it possible? How can we demonstrate an impact? But I think this is an impact that we have been able to demonstrate. In terms of sustainability, Tier Rwanda and our partners on the ground, we tried really to create user-friendly spaces. We put in place the farmers' committees. They are established, they are operational. And those farmers' committees were formed from, or were elected from the broader farmers' cooperatives established by Imbaraga. So those farmers' committees are the voices of other farmers. So they know each other. And one of them is here from Nyanza, the president of some farmers' committees. So they are operational, they are active, they have been empowered. Second is to connect those farmers' committees with other government existing mechanisms, which include, among others, the JAF, Joint Action Development Forums. Those are the government spaces where farmers' representation was not included or present. And so Tier Rwanda tried really to connect the dots with what is operational, with what is working well, to those new spaces that we created. And of course, we established Agriculture Week, where, for example, the farmers and the officials on the agriculture sector can reflect and meet and discuss. So those mechanisms have been really created, and they are interconnected. We reduce, there is trust, mutual trust, and cooperation is really in place. Of course, we as Tier 1, as civil society, what we ensure is to keep in contact. We are not leaving Rwanda, we are still Rwandan CSOs, and as we heard, we have created media network on social accountability. Media, they are covering countrywide, reporting countrywide. So I think those mechanisms that have been put in place, interconnected with very mutual, where the trust has been enhanced between the two parties. I think there is the sustainability is there, but it needs to be monitored and of course keep supported. This is what we can respond. So I think other questions, if not responded, Octave and of course the city, the funding. Yes.
Very quickly, thank you so much. Not that I want to get into the hard questions, but Martin and I sit together on the Development Partners Group, and we can rely on Martin to ask the hard questions. I think just to supplement what my colleague Apollinaire has mentioned, we've known, and it's something the World Bank did a piece of work a number of years ago called the Future Drivers of Growth, and in that, when we looked at institutions and accountability, it's something that we spoke to, that it has been very much a top-down culture for a long time. It is notable to me that we have at least 2 operations, this one and another one recently approved, which is another small amount of financing, that has been approved with the support of government, as all of our work is, that is looking at this sort of participatory decision-making. And this one has to do with, it's not the Imihigo, but other decisions at the district levels of communities. And so there is, I believe, an interest. This one has been supported by Minaloc. There's an interest in seeing how one can hear the voices of the people at the grassroots level in making decisions for their communities in planning. And for us, this is essentially addressing one of what we thought was an area of weakness that could be strengthened going forward. There's a lot of discussion at leadership, at top leadership, about people-centered governing and making people-centered policy making. And so these small grants are helping us to explore how that can be done well, what sort of things work, and what doesn't work, so that we know that when we scale up, we're able to inform ourselves on that. The gentleman from the NGO asked a question about sort of what the World Bank's role is. The source of funding for this intervention is the Global Partnership for Sustainable, for Social Accountability. And this is a source of finance that essentially does these social accountability interactions in different countries over particular periods of time and across different sectors. As Jeff mentioned, they work in health, they work in a number of areas. And the way it works, of course, is that it's a small amount of seed funding, which is utilized in this fashion. And we look for other opportunities, either through World Bank finance or other bilateral financing, in order to see whether or not it can be scaled. There are times when the bank works or supports pilots, and this is one of them. In this particular instance, we are very pleased, and Apollinaire mentioned this earlier, that FCDO has decided to support Transparency International in the scaling of this operation to a number of different districts. And so we will be able to see not just Kayamza and Nyanza, but I think it is 3 or 4 other districts who will implement the lessons learned to see how we can build a muscle to be able to do this for the longer term. Sustainability is always a question. We do have ongoing operations that we design with government in the agriculture sector. None of these at this particular point in time. We've done one recently on commercialization and de-risking of agriculture. This does not pick up the social accountability and the improvement of performance contracts under this project, but there's nothing to say that this is not something that can happen in future or through other programs. I was actually very, very pleased that our partners and colleagues in FCDO saw the value of this program, the good work that Transparency International has done, and is in a position to do more. And as I've discussed with Apollinaire, we would very much like for GPSA grants to be taken up by Transparency International, but also by other NGOs, and applied to various sectors in Rwanda. So as your institution, sir, works with social accountability, works with performance contracts, it would be interesting, I think, perhaps to liaise closely with Transparency International, Rosemary from GPSA, to see if we could put forward another grant, proposal and have a similar type of operation, perhaps in another sector in Rwanda, because I think it's only with good examples like these, continuing to see good examples like these, you know, the government, I think, will be convinced, as I'm sure it already is, but will be probably more motivated to accelerate this people-centered decision-making that, you know, already it seems there is commitment to, but which will need to be rolled out. And of course, culture change and behavior change takes time. It doesn't happen automatically.
Martin, I think there is a question you asked me, which is obvious, by the way. Martin is asking, okay, in case there is what the government wants and what farmers want, and they are different, what to do? But this is something which is obvious and which happens most of the time. You know, in the 19th century, even in Europe, when the government was asking farmers, what do you want the most? The farmers were responding, we want a horse which works long and which eats less. That one cannot exist. So, then meaning telling them that we are researching what, and that also was discovered later, it is a tractor. So, meaning, it's normal that farmers can say one this and because sometimes they do not know, they don't have information, they do not know where the markets are, the good markets for some products, where they are. They do not know those, for example, those theories we are talking of, market-oriented, digitalization, all those concepts which are extremely important for them. But you may find if you start bringing digitalization, telling him, go to the bank, get your loan, those are things which are more complicated. And telling them, you know, contract farming and what. It's normal that can happen when technicians are talking and farmers don't understand. And by the way, even when you're talking of top-down planning, it is not a culture as such, but it's something which seems to be simple. Seems to be simple, you do this in this city. When you ask the questions, there is no, so it's very complicated to respond. But instead to go and contract the 3.8 million farmers until you have an agreement, it's something which is complicated. That's why the road, for example, projects like this one of the things is just give them tools. And also they understand that indeed the bottom-up planning is for their benefits, to have the results. And we, on our side, we do have that in our policies, we do bottom-up planning. And you implement according to the whims of the beneficiaries. Now, the question comes when there is that part of discrepancies. When that occurs, it is for a simple reason. For the asymmetry in the information. The way information is asymmetric, farmers, they have their own information that they know they have to cultivate this kind of commodity, and then the government is saying if you go to this one, this way you are going to have more returns. What we do, we pilot. We pilot, and then we ourselves, we do have something said in Rwanda, I work in the others, they learn from that. We take time, we pilot. I know one of the challenges some decision makers face is that part of thinking of rushing. But this is exactly the project like this one, that it takes time, then we demonstrate. You know, we have a set of projects which is started by pilot, others they learn from those ones who are not, in extension you have the ones that we call opinion leaders, early adopters, and then at the level of the laggers. If the laggers are many, then we will be starting with the early adopters, and then they come and they learn from them until they adopt the right path. Thank you.
murakoze. Nitwa Gafaranga Joseph, naturutse mu muryango w'abahinzi n'aborozi bo mu Rwanda Imbaraga, tukaba twarabaye abapartenere ba Transparency Rwanda muri uyu mushinga. Abahinzi tuvuga Ikinyarwanda muri hamwe. Twagize ubukene twabangemo, ntabwo twagize amahirwe yo kwiga indimi zikomeye, kandi niyo turi tubikora mu Kinyarwanda kuva ku mudugudu kugeza ku karere. Turashaka ko bijya no ku rwego rw'igihugu, byananiranye ku karere. Nababwiye ko nitwa Gafaranga Joseph, nkaba naturutse mu muryango w'abahinzi n'aborozi bo mu Rwanda Imbaraga, tukaba turi abapartenere ba Transparency International Rwanda muri uyu mushinga.
It's called Gafaranga from Imbaraga Farmers Organization, who are the partners in implementation of this project.
Ndashaka kuvuga cyane ku burambe bw'ibikorwa, kandi ndemeranya n'ibisubizo batanze, ariko njye ndashaka kuvuga cyane ku bijyanye n'uburambe bw'ibi tugezeho uko bizakomeza.
We first of all want to emphasize the sustainability of the achievements made through this project. That is what we want to focus on.
Twe dufite icyizere ko bizakomeza, ko ibyo twagezeho bizakomeza, kubera ko harimo incentive niko ndabyita, bakoranye n'imiryango y'abahinzi. Hari abahinzi bakoze, bari muri komite bafasha abahinzi ku murenge kugira ngo ku mudugudu kugira ngo bazageze ibibazo byabo ku karere. Abo bafitemo inyungu, kubera ko n'ubundi abahinzi baravuze uko bagira uruhare mu mihigo, none bagize Imana. Izo komite rero zizakomeza kubafasha.
As farmers organization, they do believe that the project will be sustained because it helped first of all in empowering farmers through their committees, and they believe that the committees will also continue to even do what the project used to do.
Harimo imiryango, noneho umuryango Imbaraga, umuryango umaze imyaka 30, ntabwo urajya. Abo bahinzi ntaho barajya, Imbaraga ntahirajya, kandi iyo mbaraga muri ntuza bifite advocacy kuvuganira abahinzi, ahubwo ibonye ikiraka cyo kugira ngo ikomeze gufasha abo bahinzi kugira ngo ugere ku ntego yayo, izabikomeza rero.
So Imbaraga as farmers organization will continue to advocate for farmers while using the mechanisms in place established by this project, and will also contribute to continue empowering the farmers in general.
Hari akarere kagize amahirwe kuko kabonye noneho ibintu biri formel. Ubundi wenda baradutumira abahinzi ariko bikaba muri formel. Akarere gafitemo inyungu muri evaluation, kuko abakora evaluation baturutse hejuru muri Minaroga, iyo basanzwe bafite impapuro ibitekerezo byaturutse mu baturage bikagera ku karere, bakafite amazina n'abantu babisinyiye, nkeka ko amanota yiyongera kuruta uko babikoraga mbere. Akarere rero tukeka ko tuzakomeza gufatanya kugira ngo iyo nyungu, ubwo bwengere bw'amanota bw'imihigo bukomeze.
Again, this project achievements will help the district to get good markings in the Imihigo, because they used to approach farmers in an informal way, but now they approach them in formal way using different approaches, and they do have the proofs that they have approached the farmers through different aspects.
Dukeka ko na Minagri, murabona ko yafashe umwanya akirirwa hano. Na Minagri hari na uretse kwifuza ko ubuhinzi butera imbere, hari n'amafaranga Minagri ishyira mu turere. Nkeka ko Minagri nayo ari motivation izashimishwa nuko amafaranga iri gutanga mu karere, ibitekerezo biri ayo mafaranga arafinansa ibikorwa byatanzwe n'abaturage. Minagri rero nayo numva ari motive kandi yabigaragaje. He
also hopes that the Ministry of Agriculture presented here is motivated to continue sustaining the achievements realized through this project.
Ikigoye ni coordination, ariko nkatwe nk'imbaraga tuzakomeza kuganira n'abo bayobozi batandukanye kugira ngo dushiremo coordination. Ikindi kugira ngo barebe ko hari udufaranga duke dushobora kuva mu karere arayo ariko no kuvugiza indikuka ari ayo mafaranga aturuka muri minagira ajya mu karere, ari amafaranga y'akarere, bakareba ko hashobora kuboneka udufaranga duke dushobora gufasha abahinzi, cyane cyane iyo bateranye ku rwego rw'akarere bari kureba uko ibyo bibazo byashyirwa ibyo bibazo byakwakirwa bigashyirwa mu mihigo.
What is very important now is the coordination, and as Imbaraga vote to continue making the coordination, but they also have some suggestions, including that some budget from the district, a small portion on the budget can be allocated, especially for the farmers committees when they meet for some legislation.
Birumvikana ko bitazagenda ko byihute nkuko harimo umushinga ubushobozi bunini, ariko ubushobozi buke buzaba buhari n'ubwumvikane ko dusanzwe dukorana ubuyobozi butwumva mu nzego zose bizagenda byanze bikunze dufite iyo turi committed.
As farmers, they do believe that despite the challenges expected to be met, but they believe that with some available resources, may be limited, but they believe they will continue to achieve a lot.
Kuko ibi bikorwa byagiye bikorwa, abayobozi, abagoronome, abayobozi bo mu turere buri gihe bagiye babiha umwanya bakabikurikirana, ukabona babyishimiye ko bituma nabo babona amanota kandi koko na development yihuta.
So he hopes that the agronomists and the veterinaries, as they have been part of the implementation of this project, will continue to approach farmers, because they saw that the project has really been impactful, and they hope they will get good backs through engaging farmers.
Nje mfite urugero natanga, hari igikorwa nk'iki twakoze mu karere ka Gakenke. Mu karere ka Gakenke ku bijyanye na participation y'abaturage mu bikorwa bibakorerwa. Twararangije. None uyu munsi kubera iyo coordination twakoze, uyu munsi akarere gashira budget yako, hari budget gafata gashira mu mafaranga ashobora gufasha ziriya komite kugira ngo zikomeze zikore niyo wababaza ku buryo rero uko kuntu akarere kabishize no kukakagenye n'abandi bazashyiramo ingufu ku buryo tuzakorana muri iyo coordination yaba abantu maze kuvuga ku buryo twizera ko bizagenda, kuko mu karere umushinga tukomeje gukora, kandi umushinga twakoranaga na NPA, Norwegian People Aid, wararangiye, ariko ubu birakora rwose kandi bikora neza. N'uyu rero ndizera kuzakora neza. Murakoze.
Apart from Kayonza and Nyanza,
nidufatanye bizagenda neza, kandi ko bizashoboka kuko muri Gakenke byarashoboka ubashize budget.
And has duplicated some activities in Gakenke district, and they have realized that the Gakenke officials have owned the project, and they believe that it will also happen for this project, even in Nyanza and Kayonza, where officials are expected to continue sustaining the results achieved.
Thank you very much. I'm from the Office of Ombudsman. My question is about one of the challenges that was identified during the presentation. The presenter from the TI Rwanda. He talked about the problem of bargaining power when it comes to price setting. I think this one is crucial, because when there is an increase in production, normally the result is that the prices will drop. Sometimes it drops drastically. Sometimes you hear farmers will normally complain. So I just wanted to know, to share, how can this problem be addressed? Because even the presenter during his presentation, he identified it as a challenge, but that was not addressed, I think. So I just wanted to maybe to ask the representative from the Ministry of Agriculture, what is your take on that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the big challenge that we meet in agriculture indeed. Two things here. One, farmers are strong in production, are weak in bargaining power or prices. That is something which is known. Secondly, there is that issue of supply and demand. And there is a lot, prices are low. That's another challenge. And that's another fact in it, technical point of view. Sometimes it becomes harmful when you see, for example, someone is buying seeds or something like 1,000, and 3 months later is selling his produce at 100. That happens. Two things that we need to work on. One, and we work on, by the way. One, a farmer gives out his or her produce to resolve an issue, and he needs or she needs that to be resolved. For example, sending a kid to school. In our culture, we say, in our language, we say, that's what indeed they want me. Just one night, you can really kill your cow. That's what it means. I am in crucial need of cash. I need that cash, whatever it takes. That is what. So then, one of the things we need to work out, and we try to work out, is first of all to allow that farmer who needs some cash to be able to go to the bank, to put his or her produce in collateral and to get that small cash he needs. That is one. Secondly, to be able to somehow control the supply. Do not say we did that. We did that with cows. In the past, something like 20 years ago, all the farmers were taking their cows to the markets, what is called in the Eastern Province, Bikomera, and then the cows were bought almost for nothing. After finding that, the Minister of Agriculture took a decision of somehow not allowing each and every cow to go to the market. We started deregulating the number of cows going to the market for the benefits of farmers. Now it has become a culture. When people they see all those hearings we brought on board 20 years ago, some of the people they think probably that it came. It did not came like that. And also at the beginning, as Martin said at the same time, there was a resistance. Farmers they wanted to sell off all their cows at any cost. That is something that we are working on or in other commodities. How? By allowing farmers to have quality storage facilities. Allowing them to have quality storage facilities permit them then to say, okay, I have products which are stored. He can, instead of selling everything, they are stored in good conditions. And these stocks are linked with the financial institutions, with what is called warehouse receipts. Warehouse receipts. Then, someone who has in the store a good quality store, 100 kilograms, of stored also products, that's also another part, cannot miss to get from a financial institution 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. And thirdly is to continue sensitizing farmers to go for those products which can be stored. For the first thing, easily stored like in warehouses. That is to invest in other type of storage which are not common, like the cold chain, the cold rooms. We are having experience in the part of the Musanze there, where, for example, even the Irish potatoes can be stored in cold rooms for a longer period. Then, having storage facilities, linking them with financial institutions, continuing to sensitize farmers, will permit them to get cash, and as they get cash the way they wish to resolve very urgent issues, they will be increasing their bargaining power. And then also the other part, which probably is something that we are working on, is now to go for e-commerce and digitalize all those stores, so that even we can sell through commodity exchange, we can sell even abroad via exactly the part of that part of digital and also e-commerce. Ombudsman, representative Ombudsman, those are what we are having in the ministry. Some of them are under implementation. Thank you.
I recognize that time is short, and in my job I have to be an expert on everything, which means that I'm not as great as somebody like the DG who comes from the ministry and focuses on agriculture. But the two issues that he has raised, this idea of warehouse receipts is a big one, which we are very supportive of the ministry putting in place and expanding broadly, because it allows a farmer to smooth their revenues, right? So that they don't get everything now the day that they have, what is that word, harvested. They have everything, they're worried about spoilage, and so they're willing to sell at any price, right? This allows for a smoother revenue and then spending at appropriate times. The point on digitalization is huge. I want to step back one step. The bank clearly is a bank and we offer financing, but one of the things that we also do in order to inform the interventions that we make is to do analytical work, to do studies. And our most recent study in October 2022 on poverty had a very strong focus on the agriculture sector. And one of the points that we made as critical points was that farmers at the gate of the farm were getting a very low price, whereas the produce was being sold in Kigali and in other places at very, very high prices. And one of the key issues then was, how do we get farmers to link with the buyer that is not just at his farm gate? And a key disruptive and useful mechanism is digitalization. So I'm very impressed, for example, with these young farmers. There's a particular group, AgriFresh or Agri-Farmers, that essentially identifies farmers where there are in rural areas and is the vehicle through which buyers are made aware of what is needed, how much produce, what type of produce is available. And this essentially disrupts the buyer who comes to the gate. Because that buyer who comes to the gate, he's providing transport, he's right there, he knows that the farmer needs that money, and so he's going to offer the cheapest possible price for that product. But if a farmer has a smartphone and can link with these more disruptive platforms, they can see what other buyers are offering for that product. And that particular, I speak about AgriFresh or Agri-Farmers because I'm so impressed with them. Very young man, extremely Rwandan, extremely bright and well educated. He also provides the transport service. So that farmer can identify, I have that product, right? I'm willing to sell it at X. And then he arranges for somebody to pick up and transport that to the buyer. And it's one of the reasons why we are also at the bank very interested in making farming sexy, interesting, fun, exciting for the young people, because they are bringing this innovation and energy with them that is ultimately, in our view, going to ensure that the rural sector is able to get higher values, right? And thus to eliminate poverty, right? Move people out of poverty and into more productive uses. We continue to work with the Ministry of Agriculture. I mentioned this new operation that we had that speaks about commercialization and de-risking. And some of this is speaking to proper storage, cold chains. This is the government working with the bank, identifying these interventions, and the bank providing resources, both loan and grant resources, to be able to deliver on some of these very points that the DG has mentioned. We think that there is more that we can do together with the government in terms of this innovation to try to create more opportunities for farmers to get more money at the farm gate for their produce. And it's a dialogue that is continuing between ourselves and the ministry, as well as with other development partners like the Netherlands, like Japan, like the United States, that are all working, like FCDO, that are all working in this agriculture sector. My simple point is, don't worry. We are worried about this issue just like you are, in terms of how to get the farmer to get more, right? If we can find a way to get what the farmer receives to be closer to what the buyer sells it for, it means that we'll be lifting a very significant number of the population up. We're making them more prosperous. And this is actually the real key focus of the World Bank in our interventions in Rwanda and globally. Thank you.
I was just going to ask if you have any last words.
I think time is not on our side.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. We don't have any more questions online, so I'd like to ask you, the director, to kindly share the way forward and closing remarks before we have a 15 photo.
Thank you, Tona, and thank you, all of you, for your insightful contribution. I am encouraged because in my opening remarks I said this is not an end, it's an ongoing collaboration. And the questions that have been asked show that there is still room for joint collaboration. And here Rwanda, we are really grateful for the support, the collaboration you are showing, and of course, ideas you shared for future improvement and adjustments. As I said, governance is not accurate science. It's not 1 + 1, which is equal to 2, and this is also subject to discussions from various point of views. But governance, it's a process, it's a behavior change, it's a mindset change, as we are seeing it, especially in agriculture sector and other sectors, I would say. So, yeah, we are there to keep working together. Good thing is that the appetite is there. We are positive because we can't predict or think to the future if we are not positive. If you are negative, you can't achieve anything. So let's stay positive and work together. And of course, I think this piloting phase of our projects show that we can keep increasing farmers' participation, collaboration with our public institutions, civil society, media. At the end, all of us, the final beneficiary is citizens. So let's work for citizens, for the better future of our country. Thank you, Council Director. Thank you, Minister of Agriculture. Thank you, all of you, for being with us this afternoon and this evening. Thank you, colleagues who are connected virtually, the World Bank, Jeff and the team, Rosemary in Nairobi, and others who are following us in this event. We really appreciate your presence with us. Thank you very much. Have a good morning in Washington, a good evening in Nairobi, and elsewhere you are following us. Thank you.
Thank you very very much. For the group photo, I would like to ask if we can take it from here.
Stay on the line, we are going to take a group photo with you.
In the background. Jeff and Rosemary, if there's anything else you'd like to say quickly, but we're going to take a group photo.